Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom-picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at a more affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/thebarn. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/thebarn.
Hello, I'm Jason Lowry.
And I'm Mark Toti.
And this is the Parkland Podcast.
It's the Parkland Podcast with Jason and Mark. It's the Parkland Podcast with Jason and Mark. They got plenty to say. They got plenty of heart. On the Parkland Podcast with Jason and Mark. It's the Parkland Podcast. Yeah, the Parkland Podcast. It's the Parkland Podcast. Yeah, the Parkland Podcast with Jason and Mark. Jason and Mark.
Oh, it's fall. Fall weather's in the air. Football's in the air. What a time to be in Southeast Missouri.
Oh, man, and we have an amazing show for you for episode 14. We're going to visit with fellow local podcasters, Andrea Woodard and Angela Williams. They're going to talk about the new charges that have been filed in their father's almost 35-year-old murder investigation. We're going to talk blues, brews, and barbecue with Paul Grindstaff. Man, this is then the Grindstaff family is going to join us in between soccer matches.
Yeah, they're heading off to a soccer match. Ashley's going to talk about the Living Well project that she's involved in, and Paul's going to spotlight blues, brews, and barbecue as well. And we've got a song that we're going to spotlight for our music pick of the week, too.
Ooh, very, very nice. We'll also talk to Melanie, Allen, and Shannon Henson with the Fredericktown School District. And week 2 of the high school football season, Kory Schweiss gave a really long interview to Mike Reeves after the ball game. Do you believe that?
Kory Schweiss? Yeah, absolutely. I can believe that.
That's all coming up here next on the Parkland Podcast. Want to make sure we thank our sponsors, Parkland Pharmacy, Discover Farmington, First State Community Bank, Save-A-Lot of the Parkland, John Robinson at Pettis Chrysler Automotive, Heimberger Construction, and our new sponsor this week, Southeast Missouri Mental Health Center.
Hey, before we go any further, I want to give a special shout-out to the good folks at Save-A-Lot, because the chicken that we had at our John Thomas fundraiser came from Save-A-Lot. Clint, I know you gave us a great deal on that, and it is so appreciated. I really like the folks at Save-A-Lot. What they did for us, we can't thank you enough. So,
and you had like an army of volunteers all helping with the St. Paul fundraiser. My goodness.
Yeah, we went out Friday night and we set up a bunch of stuff, and we record the podcast on Saturday morning. So right before that, I went and stopped by the podcast. By the way, thank you, Alicia at Spokes Pub and Grill too. She makes sourdough muffins, and she makes blueberry muffins, and I bought some for me. But she also donated a 4-pack of double chocolate muffins for the John Thomas Scholarship fundraiser, and I had to drop them off at St. Paul. It was really tough to come over here and record the podcast because I started smelling that chicken. And it's like, I really just wanted to park it over there. And
Yeah.
But I did go to the farmer's market, and then we had a big fish fry on Sunday. It was a good weekend.
No doubt. Well, Labor Day was awesome for our family. Spent a lot of time in the park. Was able to do our
I saw pictures.
Stream. Oh, yeah. We had a blast. Oh, my gosh. That Sunday wristband day is perfect for us because we can just go beep, beep, beep back and forth from the house and It's awesome.
Shout out to Joe Gilgore. Shout out to Luke Mell. Shout out to Mandy Herzog, Larry Joseph, and all the folks that I worked the beer tent with on Monday. It was fun.
Yeah, no doubt. I hear Larry Joseph wants to be on the podcast.
He wants to do a Dick Womack, Larry Joseph double team.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm not sure America is ready for that. And I guess if we're giving shout-outs, we got to give a shout-out to our buddy Brandon Geiler.
Yes.
I tuned into the podcast Friday night. I couldn't believe how good he and Jake sounded together.
Yeah, they were awesome. And thanks to everybody that tuned in and viewed and checked out our high school football coverage again for another week. Do you have a totally awesome radio story?
I do. This goes back to like 92 or 93, the year that Dolly Parton came to Farmington for Country Days. Yes. I had Gay Wilkinson, who worked at Mineral Area Regional Medical Center at the time, asked me if I would sit in a dunking booth for him that day for a young medical professionals organization he was a part of. And I said, sure. And it was cold that day for early June. It was like in the 60s. But I was a team player, so I did it. And the person who was supposed to come after me didn't show up, so I stayed an extra half hour. And I was soaking wet when I got done, but I went out to Wilson Rozier Park where the concert was. And I was sitting around talking to some of the folks from the radio station, and I started getting really cold, really started to shiver. And I said, guys, I got to go. I'm afraid I'm going to get sick. And they said, all right, I'll go change and come back. I left. 2 minutes later, somebody from Dolly Parton's band comes up to the group that I was a part of and said, hey, Dolly really wants to meet everybody. Come on back.
Oh, no.
I missed hanging out with Dolly Parton by 2 minutes. I was wearing a muscle shirt, showing the guns. I know she would have liked the view. But that was funny. But then the next day, she was in the parade. And she rode on the big buggy with the Clydesdales from Belgrade State Bank. And we were lining up, I think at that time, in front of the Spokes Pub and Grill. And Bob Oder was the police chief. And Dolly had this dress on that was rather on the short side, right?
Of course.
And she needed help getting into the buggy. So my good buddy, Bob Oder, police chief of Farmington, picks her up. And, well, let's just say his right hand was around her waist and his left hand was around her legs, and they kind of slid up a little bit, and he put her in the buggy, and she said, I bet you like that, didn't you?
Oh, man.
And Bob Oder goes, Dolly, I'm never washing these arms again. Great. Dolly Parton was so wonderful. So wonderful. Put on a good show. It was a great memory.
And is she the only Country Days performer to actually be in the parade too, or was that a common thing back then?
No, I think she was one of the very few, because usually they didn't come in till Saturday. But she had a connection. One of the guys, and Bruce, I can't think of Bruce's last name, was a member of her band, a guitar player, and he was from Farmington.
Really? Okay.
So she waived her fee. This is how good of a person Dolly is. Because, Dolly makes a lot of money for a performance. But she said, you got to pay my band. But since this is for kids, it was a fundraiser for Presbyterian Children's Home at the time. Huh. And she says, I'll waive my fee for this. I won't even charge you for me being here.
Wow.
So,
that's
Dolly Parton
amazing.
Gets a thumbs up for me, for nothing else, that and what she said to Bob Oder, and it was so funny.
That is a truly, totally awesome radio story, courtesy of Mark Toti. Want to welcome in new sponsor to the Parkland podcast, Southeast Missouri Mental Health Center. They've been a part of our community, Mark, since 1903 in Farmington, and I bet you there's a really good chance that you know somebody who works there.
Yeah, people don't, when they think of major employers in this area, Southeast Missouri Mental Health Center doesn't automatically come to mind. But you know what? They have over 1,000 employees, And we both know people that work there, and I know it's a great career, and they would like to have more people come work for them.
Absolutely. They are hiring right now for multiple positions. So whether you have experience in the field or not, they have positions available for you. You can go to the website dmh.mo.gov, and there you'll see the positions, the qualifications needed. But what a great place to work. Again, one of the largest employers in St. Francis County, and they really take great care of their patients as well. Since 1903, right here in Farmington, Southeast Missouri Mental Health Center, dmh.mo.gov, or call 218-6800. Parkland Pharmacy has 6 locations to serve you. They're in Deloge, Farmington, Fredericktown, Ironton, Piedmont, and Greenville. The truly locally owned pharmacy, and they do local pharmacy at its finest. Mark, we go on and on about the customer service every week, but that is because it is really good.
It is really good. They're wonderful people who care about you. You don't have to worry about being treated like a number when you go to Parkland Pharmacy. You'll be greeted with a smile, and you'll get great professional service, and you'll walk away thinking, I like these people.
Yeah. And with how insurance works, with changes happen, I know we're getting ready to make some changes with our kids' insurance. They will always work with you and make sure you are taken care of. Their staff knows so much about the industry, and they know how to talk to people and are such great communicators. Check them out today. Parkland Pharmacy. They're in Deloge, Farmington, Fredericktown, Ironton, Piedmont, and Greenville. Time to check news on the Parkland Podcast. It's brought to you by First State Community Bank. They have 3 locations. They're in downtown, Washington and Karsh, and the Maple Valley Center, Farmington. Ask about digital banking, keep up with your finances on the go, and be successful. First State Community Bank. Success starts here. Member FDIC.
It's the memories made during a weekend with the girls, a family adventure, or a Sunday stroll in historic downtown. At First State Community Bank, we have a strong passion for small business owners and the students and families who live, work, and play here. Our passion for them runs deep because this is our community too. First State Community Bank. Success starts here.
Several area schools put their crisis management plans into effect this week as student threats were made in the North County, Potosi, and Farmington school districts. Superintendents issued statements and in each case citing that the threats turned out to be unfounded.
The United Way of St. Francis County has hired a new executive director. Suzanne Baker will take over in October for Cassie Thomas. The United Way met in a special session this past week and interviewed several outstanding candidates for the position. But in the end, there was a unanimous vote to bring in Suzanne Baker of the Farmington area as the new executive director.
As the month of August ended, new charges were filed in a 35-year-old murder case involving a Bonne Terre man. We're back on the Parkland Podcast now for a very special news segment, and we're joined by Andrea, Lynn, and Angela Williams, and we're going to talk about an unsolved murder mystery in St. Francis County that has been around for almost 35 years. These 2 people lost their father in 1988, and they have put together a podcast called Small Town Forgotten with members of their family. And because of that work, new leads have developed and an arrest has been made in the murder of their father. Andrea, Angela, known you forever. In my mind, again, it's Andrea and Angela, the Martin twins. Thanks so much for coming on to speak with us. I know this last couple weeks especially, I'm sure, has just been a whirlwind for both of you.
It has, for sure. Yes.
So let's talk about kind of growing up from the beginning. You know, everybody knew you guys as the Martin twins, identical twins. I remember you guys dressing alike a lot in the school. kind of talk about the uniqueness again. Small town, everybody kind of knows you as that. What was that like growing up?
We had some fun.
Yeah, and I think we didn't know anything different, really.
Right.
I mean, that's people everywhere we went. People would ask if we were twins. Everywhere we went.
Did you ever mess them up and say, no, we're not even related?
What was the one thing we used to say? No, we just look alike.
Yeah.
That's what we would say.
I'm Pete and she's repeat.
Right? Always had fun with that. And then tell us about your dad. What was your dad like, and what kind of a dad was he, and what did he mean to you guys?
He was, I don't remember ever getting punished by him.
No.
Never. Like, my mom was a punisher. He was always like...
He was very carefree. He was the type that, like, I don't think he was, like, a planner of any sort. He always flew by the seat of his pants and very spontaneous.
And you're always going to have a good time.
Yes. He was the life of the party.
So tell us about the situation involving his death. What you want to share with us about that?
So, all from 11 years old, like my mom kind of sheltered us a little bit, like regarding the details. And I think it was just because she didn't want to...
She was basically just trying to shelter us from the brutality of it.
Yes. And so we just knew a guy named David Brian White was charged. And whenever it first happened, I don't remember even how, I remember her telling us, but I don't remember her exact words. I don't know if she said he was involved in an accident. And so the name David Brian White I just knew that. And my mom, like, it was in the front page of the Daily Journal, and we wanted to know more about it.
We'd either have Jamie Ball to get the newspaper for us, or we'd ride our bike to 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Because you were kids at the time.
11.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we would ride our bikes, and that's how we got our information, was the Daily Journal.
Yeah. And so that's in my mind until I got a little bit older, that's who did it. And then whenever I was in high school and someone wanted to talk to me after gym class. They're like, is Jimmy Martin your dad? And I'm like, yeah. And they told me some things and Wesley's name was brought up. And I'm like, my first thought was like, David Brian White did it. Like, what is she talking about? But then as we started asking questions, Wesley's name kept coming out.
Yeah, and we really hit it hard in 2007.
Yeah.
How that kind of started was me and my son went on to see one of my friends, because I lived in North Carolina at the time, and I didn't have family or anything, because Cody's dad was in the military. And so I had become really good friends with a coworker, and I had asked my son, I said, do you want to go to her house for the weekend? And he's like, sure. So we pack up, and I was like, let's stop and get a CD. And we got the Fergie CD, and this was years ago, and the Big Girl Don't Cry came on, and every time he turned his head and he like wouldn't look at me, and I thought I saw a tear down his face, and he wasn't a crier. So the next day I asked him what was bothering him, and he wouldn't tell me. Or I asked him that day and the next day, and then so he was cleaning his room, and he said, can I go outside and play? I said, well, if you tell me what's wrong. He goes, I just can't talk to you about it. I said, why don't you write it down on a piece of paper and go outside, and I'll read it while you're outside. He's like, okay. So I'm dying for him to go outside, and he said, every time I hear that song, it makes me want to blank the guy who did this. And it was on a Cookie Monster notepad.
Oh, man.
And he had a spike at the time, and he had draws a little kid with a spike and like a tear going down his face. And I called Angela. I said, when my kid knows it bothers me, it's time for us to get some answers. So I flew home, and that was in 2007, and we met with Dan Bullock then, and then they reopened.
We think there's enough to reopen it.
Yeah.
And then...
So it's kind of, my son kind of pushed me to want it. And at that time, I was almost my dad's age at the time he died. So then I'm like realizing how young he was. So then I'm like, okay, I called Angela, and she was like, yeah, it's time. And the more we dug into it, the more we realized that the things that, like some of the things just wasn't adding up to be David White. And that's when we're like, maybe she was right.
So talk about how things went from that point on. Now Sheriff Bullock is involved. The investigation's reopened. Kind of walk us through how things went, I guess, over those next 13 years or so leading up to the podcast itself.
Well, we would, at the time, it was hard for us to do it together because I was in North Carolina and she was here, but she would meet with everybody and, call me and give me the details or whatever. But, I'm at a point now I don't even care about being mute about the things that we went through. But one of them was the investigator was calling at 11 o'clock wanting to meet at a bar to talk about the case. And then whenever we're like, why don't we do it business hours? I don't feel like that's really appropriate at 11 o'clock at night at a bar. And then
Never heard from him again.
we couldn't never get a hold of him after that.
So there was,
And that's just one thing.
yeah, like we had a lot of, so Facebook had just started becoming, there was a lot more people having Facebook at that point. So we started, when did you start the Justice for Jimmy page?
No, I don't remember.
But people, like, we would just talk to people.
Right.
And, like, my aunt would call and say, I heard someone said this. Okay, so let's go find that someone. And so we started out with a 1-inch binder with notes.
That
Just hearsay, okay, writing people's name. How do they know so-and-so, and where did they hear what they heard? And then we'd go talk to that person. And, I mean, there was some times where I wouldn't even tell anybody where I was going because I knew I would get some backlash from my family being like, what are you guys doing? Like, there was one time me and Andrea and Sean jumped in the car and drove to Kentucky.
Huh.
So a lot of people would have given up. They would have said, too much time's gone by. Let's just let it go to bed. But you guys didn't. What drove you to just keep on doing this?
I think my dad is not here. So we were his voice. And it had always bothered me, well, especially like once we started investigating and like there was such tunnel vision in the investigation. I mean, you could see it because we have the case file. So whenever you read it, there was just everything, no matter if it fit they've made everything fit their narrative. And so, I mean, we didn't know that till later on, but I think just the fact that what we've gone through, not having a dad, and someone killed my dad that has got to enjoy their kids, their grandkids, and I mean, we have felt like we paid for what someone else did. And I think just we made a promise to our dad that we were going to find justice for him, and we weren't going to stop until we got justice.
So Wesley Marler's been arrested. Mm-hmm. Were you surprised when you found out it was local like that?
Well, we knew that it was him, you know. So we get vague. Whenever we talk to the Highway Patrol, like we gave them everything we had, and that's what started their investigation. And so we got vague answers, really. I mean, of course, they're not really going to go into detail of everything they're doing, but we pretty much knew in general, like, they have a search warrant for their DNA.
But we would never know when it was going to happen. And sometimes we didn't even know until after the fact.
Yeah.
And they never called us. We always called them.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't expect them to call and just volunteer information, you know. But we did have to sign a non-disclosure agreement that we would not talk about the case.
And, of course, you know, we halted the podcast there was so many times we had to stop. Because we never thought it would get investigated. And then whenever it did, we didn't want to jeopardize the investigation. And if law enforcement thought what we were putting out was going to jeopardize it, we stopped it. And we probably
There was several times.
Several times, yeah. Yeah.
So let's bring in Chris Hulsey and Sean Martin. They are, I guess, kind of the heavy lifters of the podcast, and talk about the work that they've done working with you guys. I mean, this has made a huge difference in this whole situation.
They're amazing, is all I can say.
Yeah, and, you know, like I was saying yesterday, you know, they take a time away from their families, and Chris has young kids.
He's a busy guy.
Yeah, he is.
I'm sure Sean is too, but I know Chris is because I see it all the time.
Yeah, and so
it just means so much that they have put their heart and soul in it. And that is one thing, like, whenever I went back and listened to the podcast right before the new one came out, and then just hearing it from now that everybody knows who it is and listening to it, the way they tell our story is amazing.
Yeah.
And
yeah, they do a really good job.
One thing, my dad's, and they interviewed my dad's sisters, and all three of them, they're like, what was most important to Jimmy? And they all said family. And so I'm just like, how ironic that it's his family that is getting him the justice.
What went through your mind when you first heard word of the official arrest? What were the emotions?
We were all over the place.
Yes.
I called Angela. I said, my body won't quit shaking, like my arms, my legs.
I was sitting there and I was
just trembling it was about 4 hours. And I'm like, is this ever going to stop? Because I almost felt like my blood sugar was low or something, you know, just weird. But I was excited to call my grandma and my family and my aunts and everybody who's been, you know, waiting, because
David White and Chris and Sean. And that's the first thing he said whenever we called him. And I don't know what I heard after that.
Yeah, we don't.
He said a lot of things, but
what we don't really know.
Amazing. So episode 14 is now available for Small Town Forgotten. And, we don't want to spoil everything because we want people to click on your podcast too, but kind of talk a little bit about now where things are and the situation and how this has changed here in the last couple of weeks.
One thing that whenever we did go to court, it was so gratifying to see that man in shackles and not being able to, you know, visit his family or whatever. And Angela and I, we have no ill will towards our family. And, you know, I actually feel bad for them to have someone taken away, you know, because I know that hurts. But I feel like he did the crime. He has to pay. He has to pay it, you know. And the only thing I'm kind of concerned from this point on until next Friday is the bond reduction hearing.
That's next Friday.
I mean, I just feel like he needs to stay in jail where he belongs. And
two, there's been a lot of people that have came to Chris, Sean, Andrea, and I that have talked because they know they have information, but they don't want to talk with authorities. They don't want to be named on the podcast because they're scared. Mm-hmm. And they're like, you know, I have a family, and I don't want to put them in any kind of situation, you know, to fear for their life. And we know that there have been witnesses that have been intimidated, or people that knew has been intimidated. Like, if you talk, I'm going to kill you. Wow. And so I think it's going to be, the bond hearing is, ironically, it's Friday the 13th, and my dad was murdered on Friday the 13th.
Just in a different month.
Just in a different month, yeah. And so if the bond is reduced to where he can make bail, I'm afraid those people that maybe are thinking about coming forward are going to be apprehensive. Mm-hmm. And if he's behind bars, can't hurt anybody, that they would be more apt to come forward.
I know that Donnie Crump has really done a lot of work in this situation. Kind of talk a little bit about Donnie, and I'm sure it's not just him; it's other members of the Highway Patrol, other law enforcement folks.
Andy Wood.
Yeah,
Woods.
and all those people have helped out tremendously, haven't they?
They have been amazing because, like I just talked about our, bad experiences in the past. They've definitely put a new light on our perspective of how
Trusting
and I feel like I don't feel like it should be that hard to do your job. Whenever.
Well, and we were told, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, but it wasn't done. Don't tell us that if that's not what you're going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not in any way bashing law enforcement.
Sure.
This is just the past. These people aren't even involved in the investigation whatsoever. But I think Donnie has, we call him, he calls us back. And it's because of him that we are where we are.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, him and Andy Woods from the Highway Patrol, and then there's a few other from the Sheriff's Department. And I think they've definitely restored our faith. And we worked so hard, like as far as looking at the files and getting everything, like all the evidence that we had. And once we passed that over to Donnie, I mean, he was on it. It was like...
Yeah, I would call him and say, hey, I heard this name. Oh, I've already talked to them.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow.
And it was just such a relieving feeling that
It almost
something
felt...
was actually going to be done.
And I felt like it was just as important to him as it was to our
us.
family.
Yeah. Yep.
And Sean had called me, years ago. And he was wanting to do like a documentary type film on my dad's case. And then I don't remember what exactly happened, but he kind of followed up, throughout the years. And we had so much going on when he called. Like, we had just found David White. We went to the jail to meet him, which he didn't know we were coming. We'd spoken to the prosecuting attorney's office, and
That was a dead end.
yeah, but all this stuff was going on. And when Sean and Chris called, I'm like, are you kidding me? So after we had our conversation about what all, we had been going through just in the last like 2 or 3 weeks, they were like, wow, like, because a lot of things had been done, and they stepped right in, and it was so just such a wonderful feeling to have someone, because at the time we hadn't talked to Donnie yet, or anything. And it was so nice because Sean said you were not alone, and we had felt alone for so long.
I felt like we were like a burden on the people that, like we reached out to so many people just trying to find that one person like Donnie. We were trying to find someone just like him, and it wasn't happening. And I'm like, what do people, like, why is this so hard to try to get someone to help us? Like, we've done all the legwork as far as, and everything that we, gave the Highway Patrol was confirmed, because we said, we think Wesley did it, and here's why. And for us not to have, any law enforcement background, and like, it just seems so unfair, that we had to go through what we went through to get justice. But Donnie has been nothing but incredible.
So now you have all the legal procedures, all that's going to take place. Are you ready for that wave of emotion that's going to come up with all that?
I'm ready for it
Yes.
just to be like, because now I feel like we're at a point, this is the furthest, of course, we've ever gotten. And, excuse me, I think seeing him over there the other day was almost...
Just that was looking at him walking down in shackles, and I'm like...
We did it. That's what I was thinking.
All those hurdles that we had to jump, all those doors that were slammed in our face, this is like our reward. I wouldn't say reward, that's not a good word, but all of our hard work is paid off.
Yeah. You're seeing results. Do you have an estimate how long this whole legal process is going to take? I mean, we all know the court systems do not move quickly.
Right.
No idea. He has a bond reduction hearing on Friday. So I think after that they schedule the trial. I think.
I don't know.
I'm thinking.
Oh, well, I'm sure they'll be reaching out and keeping you in the loop, and we sure do appreciate both of you coming on here today.
No problem.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
This is great. Again, Small Town Forgotten. You can find that wherever podcasts are available. We'll also put a link into the comment section for ours. But a big thank you to Andrea, Lynn, Angela Williams joining us here on the Parkland Podcast. And that's your news, brought to you by First State Community Bank, locally owned, locally operated, with 3 locations in Farmington. They're in downtown Washington and Karsh and the Maple Valley Center. Business checking, they have all the options you need with that community service that you love. First State Community Bank, success starts here. Member FDIC, online at fscb.com. Time to talk Save Lots of the Parkland, Bonne Terre, DeSoto, Potosi, Park Hills, Farmington. They have great pricing on all of their food. But, Mark, I mean, when it comes to helping out in the community, they are right there every time.
Got to give a shout out. I was at the John Thomas Scholarship fundraiser over the weekend, and one of the guys, Steve, my buddy, Steve Thomas. Steve, how you doing? He says, hey, make sure you give an extra plug to Save a Lot of Farmington. They worked with us really well because we sold chicken dinners for that. And they gave us a great deal on the chicken. And they were just so easy to work with. In fact, I think whenever we have big fundraisers, we like to go to Save a Lot of the Parkland because they're so willing to work with you. And they love being a part of the community.
They sure do, and they do that with every store. And there's people I know at each one of the stores when I go in there. They're going to take good care of me and make sure that I find everything I need. That's what they always ask when you pull up to the conveyor belt. Don't forget about the 5 for $24.99. Great way to stretch that budget and feed that family. Save a Lot of the Parklands in Bonne Terre, DeSoto, Potosi, Park Hills, and Farmington. Heimberger Construction, heimbergerconstruction.com. Boy, they do some great work in our area. You can see it every day when you drive by it. And the quality that Heimberger puts in to all of their projects is easy to see.
That's because they use Butler Buildings, the best metal building system on the market, and the only buildings that have a pre-punched roof system and standard 360-degree roof seam for their standing seam roof. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you I know a whole lot about construction, but I know Jenny. I've known Jenny for a long time, and she believes in Butler Buildings, and she's about as honest as the day is long. So I think if it's good enough for Jennifer Heimberger, it's good enough for me. And shout out to Jennifer because she went to the Kansas City Chiefs game this past Thursday. She saw a doozy of a game.
Oh, boy, did she ever. So good for her. And again, you can see Heimberger Construction's work locally. Griffin Automotive in Bonne Terre. Pyramel Glass, their big expansion in Park Hills, which is, there's something going in there, Mark. We're going to find out real soon.
Yeah, baby.
They've done some work at Crown Valley Winery, and they've done some things for the Donzies and Fleegs in St. Genevieve and the Dements in Farmington. Ask around. You'll find out for yourself, or go to heimbergerconstruction.com. Let's check birthdays and anniversaries here on the Parkland Podcast. Let's get right to it, Mark Toti. Who are your birthdays for Monday, September 9th?
Hey, I want to say happy birthday to somebody I have been great friends with now for close to 30 years. Donna Black, celebrating a birthday today. Donna, on Monday. Donna, happy birthday to you. That's from Barney and all your family, and from me. She now works at the Farmington Public Library part-time, but she spent a whole lot of years working for the Division of Family Services in Park Hills. Donna, you may not be 29, but you still look it and act it. She's a real good pickleball player. And Carla Dussault celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday to you. And from your husband, Al. Their son was actually a really good punter for Farmington High School back probably close to 10 years ago now. Went on to kick collegiately as well. So, Carla, happy birthday to you.
I want to wish a happy birthday to one of my favorite students, sophomore Ronan Jew. He's a BKTV superstar. Ronan was great on the Farmington broadcast in their victory over St. Clair Friday night. Happy birthday, Ronan. And Bon Terre legend Gabe Mosier with a birthday on Monday. Happy birthday, Gabe. What do you got for Tuesday, September 10th?
Just one birthday for Tuesday, but he's a good guy. Brock Bollinger. I think he's engaged to be married now. He goes to St. Paul Lutheran Church. Happy birthday to you, Brock. He's in the real estate business. That's from, of course, your mom and your fiance and all your friends at St. Paul Church.
I want to wish a very happy birthday to the good deacon, Mike Birch. Used to be our deacon at Immaculate Conception in Park Hills, and now he kind of fills in here and there at different masses in the area. Deacon Mike, such a great guy. My kids love you, and I hope you have a happy, happy birthday, sir.
That would make for a great rock and roll name. Man,
Yeah?
have you heard the latest album from Deacon Mike?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Dang, that would be awesome. And so if you ever consider a career change,
Yeah,
there you go.
He plays a little guitar, so
See?
yeah, there
Deacon
we go.
Mike, he's got a mean riff.
What about Wednesday, September 11th?
Wednesday, a guy I went to high school with, Larry Lipinski. Happy birthday to you, buddy. We hung out. We played tennis a lot and gone our separate ways, but I still remember those tennis matches. So we kind of split. Gary Pinkston, happy birthday
Yeah.
to you from all of your family. I think he's living in the Florida area.
But he still keeps up with the podcast, I think.
I
right?
believe he does. And he
Yeah.
also, I know his brother does.
Yeah.
And he's also a pretty good guitar player.
Yeah.
Jason Fitzwater, you might remember him. He went to Mineral Area College, and he was part of the MAC basketball team. I think he was the either the team manager or he might have played. I can't remember. It's so long
We'll say
ago.
he played, like, hit all kinds of threes.
He was a star.
He was a superstar.
He was the stud of the team. Happy birthday. Now he's a law enforcement guy. Happy birthday to you, Jason. And happy birthday to Tracy Hisserich from your husband, Bob. I got to know Tracy when she worked at Kreckler Jewelers in beautiful downtown Farmington for a whole bunch of years. She is just a sweetheart of a gal.
Happy birthday, Allie Klein. Hope it's a great birthday for you. Thursday, September 12th. Whose your birthday's there?
Hey, I just got one, but he's a good one. Our good buddy, Billy Bess.
Hey!
Celebrating
Billy Bess.
a birthday, Bill.
Yeah.
Our wish for you is good health and a wonderful birthday from all your family and all those grandbabies you're accumulating.
Yeah, way to go there. Happy birthday, Jerry Reed.
Eastbound down.
Yeah, I know, right? I remember whenever Burt Reynolds died, I felt really bad for Jerry Reed. It was awful. But no, Jerry has been a loyal Parkland podcast listener since the beginning. It's part of the Monday routine for his group that he rides to work with every Monday morning. They put on the Parkland podcast and enjoy it. And they say that when they listen, it sounds like we're father and son talking on the radio.
You're that old?
I know, right?
Man, go figure.
Happy birthday, Jerry.
Happy birthday.
And Sarah Lawson celebrating a birthday on Thursday. Happy birthday to you, Sarah. How about Friday, September 13th?
Oh, Friday, we've got a really good list of birthdays for you. Shelby Kelly, who I got to know when she was a high school kid at Farmington, and she came on to work at the radio station, J98, for the last couple of years that I was there. Happy birthday to you from all of your family, your husband, and that little boy of yours. Shelby's a sweetheart of a girl. Stephanie Rigdon, who lives right down the street from me. She walks her dog a lot. She's got a beautiful dog named Rose, and Rose loves me. Maybe because I feed Rose, I don't know, but it's the weirdest thing because every time she sees me, she's walking her dog, and Rose sees me, she'll start barking, and she'll let him off the collar, and Rose will run right up to me, but she'll stick her nose right between my legs. And
That's how she says hello.
I guess, and she just leaves it there, and it's like, usually I got to buy a girl dinner and a drink before that happens, but But Rose, and she says Rose does that to just about everybody.
Oh, my.
But happy birthday to you, Stephanie.
Birthday.
Happy birthday to TJ Voiles. I have a picture. TJ's a graduate of Farmington High School.
Yes, he is.
Works out at the prison.
Yes.
I have a picture that John Cozine took and framed for me at my house going back to, I guess, about 2005. And I'm doing play-by-play of a Farmington football game with a guy named Tim Ryan.
Oh, Tim.
And there's TJ right in front of us with one of the Danley boys. And I'm like, boy, he looks a lot younger there. I still look as old then as I do now. But anyway, happy birthday to you, TJ. And we're really going to focus in on his Friday birthday on a good friend of both of ours, Roy Henson.
Oh, my gosh. Roy Henson, what a guy. What a treasure to our community. He's one of the most inspirational people I know, Mark.
He is. You know he did the comedy club and the funny.
Oh, yeah.
Did he ever tell you the joke about him doing the hurdles in the Olympics?
No.
He goes, this is my imitation. This is how I do the hurdles in the Olympics. Oh. I don't know if I've ever laughed so hard.
Oh, my. He has a really good joke, too, about how his mom buys him a treadmill for Christmas, and then he goes to return it, and he's getting ready to pull into the last handicap spot, and somebody cuts him off and takes it, and he rolls down the window and says, Mom! So he is a funny guy, man. We love you, Roy.
And Roy, I still haven't forgotten about the time we had to ban you from the Tim Gray show on J98 because of your language. And the fact that you stole my equipment one day when I was getting ready to leave the show.
Happy birthday, Roy. Bobby Tiff and I are a Deloge legend celebrating a birthday on Friday. Happy birthday, Bobby. He lives across the park from me. And Dayton Kinnan, another BK TV superstar with a birthday on Friday. She runs the video boards for both Farmington football and basketball. And she's already making money in the industry. So proud of Dayton. She's so cool.
Good deal.
How about Saturday, September 14th?
Hey, a couple of folks that I worked with at various points of my career. Kathy Capias. Happy birthday to you, young lady, from all your Capias clan and that young son of yours. I hope you have a great day. Speaking of people I worked with for a long time, somebody you know quite well, Jessica Shipman.
Oh, yes. Worked with Jessica,
celebrating.
too.
Yeah. Happy birthday to you, Jessica, from all of your family. Happy birthday to Courtney Burns. Courtney is married to Pat Burns, who was the athletic director in Farmington for a whole bunch of years. I hope you're doing great. Paige Shaughnessy celebrating a birthday today. She worked at Sticks and Steins for several years, and she was just the sweetest gal. Oh, my goodness. Happy birthday to you, Paige. And I met Beth Simmons when she went to work for the Farmington Regional Chamber of Commerce. We've stayed buddies. Her son, Reed, I've wished him a happy birthday just about every year he's been alive. So, Beth, happy birthday to you and from your husband and your son.
How about Sunday, September 15th?
Hey, a good buddy of mine, we both know and have for a long time, Dennis Smith.
Yes.
Celebrates a birthday. He lives right down the street from me. He was the original director of the St. Francis County Community Partnership. He helped to recruit me to the United Way of St. Francis County. He's Farmington City Council, was Mayor Pro Tem for a while. Happy birthday to you.
Probably needs to shave.
Oh, my gosh. He's got some gruff on there. Happy birthday to Marlene Brockmiller from Paul and all of your kids and grandkids. Let's see. Happy birthday wishes going out to Dale Springs. He's a retired highway patrolman. Showed up to just about every J98 blood drive, and I would interview him every single time. He's a great guy. Cindy Ruman, who used to work at J98. Cindy, happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Cindy.
I've known her daughter since she was about 2 years old. Now I think she's about 20.
Oh, yeah. No, she's, I think a little bit older.
Dang. Some of us are getting older, I guess. Catherine Knoll, happy birthday to you. She lives in St. Genevieve, but she's a Farmington High School graduate. She would come into the Farmington Civic Center and get on the elliptical machine. I'd have to leave the room because she just made me look so bad with how hard she worked out. I could not keep up. And speaking of working out, maybe one of the best athletes ever to come out of this area, and you know him much better than me, so I'll leave it to you, Aaron Mosier.
Oh, man, Aaron Mosier, just amazing. And not just the athletic prowess, but just kind of how he's used that as a really successful career, and he's worked with a lot of athletes. And, I mean, he set a really good example, I think, of how if you're a young person and, like, sports is your passion, make sure you have something to do, after the athleticism fades a little bit. And, I mean, he's done really well for himself.
Did I ever tell you about the time that people compared me to Aaron Mosier?
No.
Yeah, we were both out jogging one day.
Yeah?
And we both had our shirts off because it was a hot summer day.
Right.
And I heard some people say, hey, there's Mark Toti. He's no Aaron Mosier. Boom, boom.
Happy birthday to Jeremy Partney, Mineral Area College. Jeremy, hope you're having an awesome start of the semester. And the Nate dog, Nate Wolford.
Nate man.
Celebrating a birthday on Sunday. Thanks again for always supporting the podcast and the Ducks. And that's from your wife, Miss Wolford, and all of your kids. Happy birthday to you. Those are our birthdays and anniversaries here on the Parkland Podcast. I like John Robinson. He's a pretty good guy. He works at Pettis Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram at the Fairgrounds exit. Been doing it for 33 years, Mark, and he knows how to take care of his customers.
He knows the ins and outs of the business, and I know that firsthand because I've bought a car from John. I was really impressed by how he sat down and talked with me and asked me what I wanted, what I was going to use it for, and he found the exact vehicle that I wanted at the time, and I will never forget that. John, you do great work.
He does. Give him a call, 701-8002. Very involved in the community. And again, there's a reason why he has literally sold thousands of vehicles. That's because he knows what he's doing. John Robinson, Pettis Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
They said it couldn't be done. They said the world would never accept a cookie this long, or pretzel, and probably not a churro. They also said, under no circumstances should those really long and delicious treats be wildly affordable. Then we said, but we already made them, and they are. Introducing the incredible new foot-long sidekicks. Get one at Subway today.
Let's check the events page now. That's brought to you by Discover Farmington. More than you ever imagined. DiscoverFarmingtonMo.gov allows you to find out more about entertainment, dining, outdoor activities, wineries, and so much more. And this episode specifically, make sure you hang around for Paul and Ashley Grindstaff. They're going to give us the full-on Blues, Brews, and Barbecue coming up on September 20th and 21st.
Farmington, Missouri, your destination for a perfect weekend getaway. Dine in at one of our quality restaurants or visit one of our surrounding wineries. Farmington offers a variety of parks and other recreational leisure time activities. See some sights, have some fun, and go wherever your heart takes you. Sounds like a lot of fun, so get a room and stay a while. All this and more awaits you just 60 miles south of St. Louis. Discover Farmington today.
Mum's Cafe has a free meal every Wednesday evening at 5:30 at the United Memorial Methodist Church in Farmington.
Hey, it's coming up in less than 2 weeks. Blues, Brews, and Barbecue. Mojo Rising, the Blue Moon Blues Band, Brad Allen Band, Solar Blues Band, Casimir Taylor's, Doc Dixon, Marquise Knox, Albert Castiglia performing on Friday the 20th and Saturday the 21st. Free blues concerts, craft beer vendors, food trucks, a barbecue contest, and more. Go to discoverfarmingtonmo.gov to find out more.
Another Discover Farmington Mo event, the Fall Art Show, is September 28th. That's going to be from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Long Hall in Farmington.
Don't forget about the Fall Family Hay Rides, Thursday nights in October at Engler Park in Farmington.
The Erica Wade Foundation will host their annual 5K run on October 5th in Farmington. The proceeds from that great event will benefit Shriners Hospital.
Babblin' 'Bout Broadway, a musical review, takes place October 11th and 12th at 7 p.m. and October 13th at 3 p.m. at Truman Auditorium in Farmington.
And that is your events page presented by Discover Farmington. You can find out about local events, even book a wedding or day trip. It's so easy. Go to discoverfarmingtonmo.com. And again, Blues, Brews, and Barbecue happening September 20th and 21st. Subway, eat fresh. Subway of the Parkland, located in Farmington in the Maple Valley Plaza, Park Hills downtown location, and Subway in the Deloge Walmart Supercenter. Mark, you love going to Subway. That is a weekly routine for you.
Absolutely. Heather, Jessica, Brianna, Courtney, who wouldn't want to go there and see those wonderful girls? Saw Mike. I haven't seen Jake in the last week or two, but
he's busy.
I saw Mike this past week, and he says he loves the podcast, likes that we got all the birthdays on there, and really appreciates it. I had the Elite Chicken and Bacon Ranch a couple of weeks ago, and I thought that had to be the best sandwich ever. But I went in this week, and I was going to get it again, and then I saw the Beast.
The Beast?
I said, yeah.
Tell me about the Beast.
Pepperoni, salami, turkey, ham, roast beef, provolone, and so much more. The gals looked at me and said, Mark, that's the Subway sandwich for you. But I really like the idea of the Titan turkey, too, that's on the menu. You can't go wrong. The only thing better than the food at Subway in Farmington, the one I go to, is the customer service. They could write a book on it.
Absolutely. You can get the footlong churro, the footlong pretzel, and the footlong cookie available now at Subway. Subway's the Parkland in Farmington, Park Hills, and Deloge. Subway, eat fresh. Southeast Missouri Mental Health is looking to hire a diversion recovery coach. The DRC would be part of a forensic mobile team serving the central, east, and southeast regions of Missouri. A degree in social work, psychology, or other closely related field is preferred. Experience in community mental health, forensic mental health, and substance use disorders is required. Individuals with case management and psychiatric rehabilitation experience will receive preferential consideration. Specialized licensure or certification is also preferred. To apply, go to dmh.mo.gov and click on Employment Opportunities or call 573-218-6800. Back on the Parkland podcast, and it's time to talk about Blues, Brews, and Barbecue. And we have brought in one of the co-founders of the event. We got Paul and Ashley Grindstaff with us. Thanks for coming on the show right before a busy soccer weekend. You guys are great.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it very much.
This Blues, Brews, and Barbecue has been around how many years now, Paul?
This is year 7 for us, actually.
Wow.
Is what we're doing right now. Yep.
It's kind of taken on a life of its own. It's really growing into something, hasn't it?
It has. It kind of started out with, we hope this works, and now it's turned into, wonder how we're going to grow bigger than we are now. So it's pretty crazy.
A lot of great memories over the years. Do you have anything in particular that sticks out for you?
I probably shouldn't. There's a lot of wood here. We have not had a rain out yet. So that's probably the biggest thing that stuck out. For some odd reason, we have had good weather. We've had no problems. We've had great crowds. I mean, the pictures that come out kind of the week following are really cool, because while you're in the middle of it, you don't really get to, really sit and enjoy kind of the ambiance of it. And then you see some of these nighttime pictures of downtown and the crowd and the band and the lights and the stage, and it's just really neat. It's pretty cool.
Kind of walk us through the event starting with Friday. Tell us what people can expect when they come to downtown.
Yeah. So we're starting Friday, really starting Friday morning. People are going to start loading in. So you'll see a lot of action downtown all day Friday. And then we're going to open the gates at 5 o'clock. So it's free. Come on down. There'll be a lot of food and drinks beginning right away. And then we got 2 bands on Friday. We got Mojo Rising, which is a local band. They've played past couple years. They're really good. Then at 7:30 is the Blue Moon Blues Band. So if you have ever watched Channel 4 News and seen the weather guy, he's the lead guitarist.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Pretty
You'll
cool.
look at him in a whole new way.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to try to get with him and see if he can come out and, like, on the video board, show a front coming through and maybe tear off the suit and grab a guitar or something like that. But you'll see him on 6:00 morning news, very professional, and then you're going to see him doing some guitar solos Friday night.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it'll be great. Yeah, it's a great night. I'd say Friday night is probably just a little more simple. We don't have all the bells and whistles out, but Saturday is when things really ramp up. So
Saturday, you talk about a full day of music.
for sure. Yep. We got 5 bands on Saturday. Anything from the Brad Allen Band, which is another local band, all the way we got Soulard Blues Band. They play up the Broadway Oyster Bar all the time. Everybody who's been up probably to a Cardinal game or anything and gone by afterwards has heard them. The Casimu Taylor's Doc Dixon Band is playing after that. And then Marquise Knox, who was actually our headliner at our very first event, is coming back. He actually spent the last couple of years touring with ZZ Top.
Oh, wow.
So that'll be pretty cool. And then Albert Castilla is coming back. He was here a couple of years ago and really did a great job.
Yes, I remember both those guys. And anytime you can say, yes, I've toured with ZZ Top and I've been to Blues, Brews, and Barbecue, that's at the top of the resume,
yes,
right?
Exactly. Yep. It's a good mix to have.
But Jason, it's not just about the music. You talk about good food and good drinks. It's all there.
Yeah. We've got over 20 food vendors ranging from ice cream to a lot of barbecue, concession stuff. I mean, a really wide range of food. Then we've got 9 drink vendors coming. We've got a couple of cider places, some local breweries, a couple of places out of St. Louis. And then we're going to have the kids area open. That is, again, sponsored by CASA. So all the proceeds, any donations, anything is going to benefit our local CASA organization. So we love doing that for the kids. There's a massive Volkswagen car show coming. Last year, it took up maybe a block and a half or so, 30, 40 cars, and they are trying to double in size for this year. So we are going to run every side street and every inch of Columbia that we can outside of the normal festival plan.
Blues, Brews, and Barbecue happening on Friday, September 20th, Saturday, September 21st in downtown Farmington. Ashley, what's it like for you during this event? And how do you help out? And what's kind of your role during the weekend?
Support system, totally.
No, I got to tell you, people come from a long way around to go to Blues, Brews, and Barbecue, but nobody came from further away than Ashley did a couple of years ago because she was on a mission trip to Africa that we're going to talk about for a few minutes. And you got back that very night, that Friday
very
night.
Yeah, I rushed back and, came straight to Blues, Brews, and Barbecue.
Well, and you were part of the Living Well Project, which you helped to organize. And this is such a neat thing that you do. Explain to folks listening and watching the podcast what Living Well is all about.
So we sponsor some children in Kenya, Africa, and I actually got an opportunity to meet them. And so whenever I went there the very first time in 2020, the end of that year, I realized how far these people go for water. So we wanted to drill a water well, which they call a borehole, for that area. And then once we raised the money in like 3 months, we realized that this wasn't going to be the only time we did this. So we started a nonprofit called the Living Well Project. And here we are 4 years later. We said yes to well number 11 or 12.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How far were people going to get their water?
Where we drilled their first one, they were walking a couple of hours. So when you ask an African, they're like, it's very far. They don't really have, you know what I mean? They don't have a way of measuring. They just have the time. So, Miles, yeah, definitely.
Just to get water.
And from a river that's extremely dirty.
2 5-gallon buckets, usually, if you're carrying in my hand.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tell us about the big event that comes up in late winter, early spring.
Yeah, so we have a masquerade ball, which Mark has been to every time now. Thank you, Mark. We appreciate your help. So everybody gets dressed up, and is it March 15th this year? Yeah, it's in March. So hopefully it'll be warmer this year. Last year it was like icy. But yeah, we raised like $80,000 last year. We have like 5 or 6 huge things at the very end of the night to auction off. And then we have a silent auction and a nice dinner from Whisker Fish. And it's a great night.
So Ashley, when you first started this, did you have any idea that it would become the successful fundraiser that you had?
No, only God knew that. Like not in my wildest dreams would I think that we would be doing something like this. But I will say, like 10 years ago, Paul and I were making like a bucket list of things. And one of those things on that list was to drill a well for a community. We'd never done anything like that. We'd never even, we just thought, how amazing would that be? And now we're doing that many times over.
Yeah. And you've gotten so many people involved from the community that make the trip with you. Well, I want to tell you about I want you to tell us about something you put on Facebook, actually, when one of your kids found out she was going to be able to go to Africa for the first time.
Yeah, so our second kid, Kory, she had been asking, and she was like 8 at the time. And so my cousin that actually lives in Kenya was visiting for the ball. They spoke the first year, and I was like, I want you to tell her that she can come. And so we were hanging out in the living room, and they were asking her questions and gave her a Kenyan flag. And they're like, well, I guess we'll see you next year. And she's like, oh, what? I get to go? And she just starts bawling. And we're all start bawling. Like, we're just like, there was not a dry eye. And
I was watching it on Facebook. I started bawling.
It was the sweetest moment ever. And she had the very best time. Like, it was this summer was her trip.
Yeah,
and she had a really good time. She got to meet our sponsor kids and got to eat a lot of goat.
She tried goat liver.
Was it good or was it bad?
She would say it was not good. But we had lots of talks. Like, that's part of the deal. If you come, they take several hours to make these meals. Like, they don't get goat on a regular basis. That is only that's a celebration. And so taking 4 or 5 hours to make our meal, you're going to eat the food. Like, that's the rule. So, yeah.
Very cool. How important is it to you to keep the family involved and to show them, these are the things you can do to help out your fellow
Make a
person.
difference,
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely one of the top reasons why we stay motivated to do it, for sure.
Yeah, every night we say our prayers before bed, and the girls do it often, and they every single night are praying for Africans. They say mostly Kenya because that's where I've been the most, but Kenyans to get food and water, and it's just where, I mean, we help community, help the Hungry Bake Sale, lots of community things too, but I just these people that we're helping literally cannot do it themselves. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Are you still looking for more people to get involved? And if so, how can they?
Yeah. So you could reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram. I almost said Help the Hungry. Living Well Project. Or, I don't know, give Mark a text and he can shoot you my number.
I can help. Yeah.
Just text Toti. He knows.
Yeah. He knows lots about us and what we do because he's been so involved. But we'll take any kind of volunteer. Checks can go to P.O. Box 657, Farmington. I mean, yeah.
And Paul, as far as Blues, Brews, and Barbecue, I know you want to give a quick plug to Discover Farmington and the city of Farmington as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, it's a group effort for sure. I mean, there isn't even a couple of people that make this happen. I mean, it's a whole community that makes this happen. Discover Farmington, obviously, is the big main driver of it. But without having the city's support and involvement, we wouldn't even be able to turn on the lights. So then there's a whole team of people on the board of Discover Farmington we're literally working starting in October for the next year, starting to plan. So it takes a village, as they say.
Bring a little money for the food and drink, and bring a lawn chair, right?
Yep, bring a lawn chair. And actually, this year we are going to have a couple hundred chairs sitting out in front of the stage.
Nice.
For people that don't want to carry a chair in or don't want to sit at a picnic table or something like that, we're going to have some seats available that you can just come and sit down and just watch a good show.
Just leave room for all the kids that like to get up and dance.
Yeah, gotta be able to.
I think your kids lead the way in that too.
Yeah. They've grown to let their energy out on Saturday night.
They sleep well that night.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Very good. Find out more information at discoverfarmingtonmo.com. Blues, Brews, and Barbecue returning to Farmington on Friday, September the 20th, starting at 5 o'clock, and Saturday, September 21st, all day long. Downtown Farmington on Columbia Street. So much going on. Guys, thanks so much for coming in and fitting us into your busy Saturday.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Again, that's Paul and Ashley Grindstaff joining us here on the Parkland Podcast. Heimberger Construction, heimbergerconstruction.com. Boy, they do some great work in our area. You can see it every day when you drive by it. And the quality that Heimberger puts in to all of their projects is easy to see.
That's because they use Butler Buildings, the best metal building system on the market, and the only buildings that have a pre-punched roof system and standard 360-degree roof seam for their standing seam roof. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you I know a whole lot about construction, but I know Jenny. I've known Jenny for a long time, and she believes in Butler Buildings, and she's about as honest as the day is long. So I think if it's good enough for Jennifer Heimberger, it's good enough for me. And shout out to Jennifer because she went to the Kansas City Chiefs game this past Thursday. She saw a doozy of a game.
Oh, boy, did she ever. So good for her. And again, you can see Heimberger Construction's work locally. Griffin Automotive in Bonne Terre. Pyramel Glass, their big expansion in Park Hills, there's something going in there, Mark. We're going to find out real soon.
Yeah, baby.
They've done some work at Crown Valley Winery, and they've done some things for the Donzies and Fleegs in St. Genevieve and the Dements in Farmington. Ask around. You'll find out for yourself, or go to heimbergerconstruction.com.
It's the memories made during a weekend with the girls, a family adventure, or a Sunday stroll in historic downtown. At First State Community Bank, we have a strong passion for small business owners and the students and families who live, work, and play here. Our passion for them runs deep because this is our community too. First State Community Bank. Success starts here.
All right, let's continue our education and get educated from the Fredericktown School District. And wow, how about this? We have the superintendent and the assistant superintendent joining us here on the Parkland Podcast. We have Shannon, Henson, and Melanie Allen. Guys, thanks so much for joining us on a busy weekend and reaching out to all of our viewers.
It's good to be here.
Yep. Thank you.
So how's the school year gone so far?
Well, it started. You get through those first couple of weeks, and you've got your little issues that come up. Everything from feeding the kids to transportation, and just getting back into the routine. And I think once you get past Labor Day, things start to turn into school, and things are going smooth.
Talk about some of the improvements that people are noticing as they've been coming back to the Fredericktown district this year.
Sure, we were able to utilize a couple funding sources that aren't normally there. People are probably a little bit aware of the ESSER funds, the federal and state funds that in response to the COVID pandemic allowed schools to make some improvements, and mostly centered around air quality, airflow, just trying to make the environment in the schools a little bit more healthy. So we were able to use those funds and do a variety of things. One of the biggest projects we had was our elementary school, which is an older building, definitely needed some improvements on the HVAC. So we were able to put in new heating and cooling systems. At the same time, we were able to put in new windows, get rid of those air conditioning individual window units that we had. And the new windows and the new lighting, it looks like a new building. It really does. I know that if you go into that building now, just you can tell by the atmosphere. A lot of people are bringing sweaters because air conditioning is working extremely well in that building. But it was nice to see that building get a facelift. It was really in need of one. It just seems like it's a much cleaner environment. It allowed us to also do improvements in the bathrooms in that building. Of course, you can think of a building that's been there since the 50s. Improving the flooring in there and the fixtures. It's just a more modern environment for our kids. A couple other areas that we were able to improve. If you go across our campuses, we did utilize state funds for safety improvements, the Governor Parsons Safety Grant, and we've established some secured entries. And all of our schools now have secured entries. We had a couple that had them previously. But we were able to improve the way visitors come into our building and try to minimize access by people who aren't supposed to be there. I won't talk about all our operational, operations, just to keep some things that don't need to be shared, but we just feel like our procedures there have been improved because of those funds and allowing to utilize those to make our buildings safer. Also at our high school, we improved the bathrooms there, complete overhaul of the bathrooms. One of the issues we've been having problems with is student vaping, and we redesign those in a way that may minimize that. It's a little bit of more of a unique setup. If you get a chance to go to the high school, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's more of an open lobby type bathroom area with individual bathrooms that are against the wall. So instead of one bathroom that you go in where there's stalls, now it's like there's several, I think it's 8 now, bathrooms on that hallway. It's a much cleaner environment, and the kids seem to really like it because they can get in there, not have to fight over stalls because a student may be in there vaping, or on their phone or whatever. So it seems that also not only just improved the health of that environment, but also the safety. And another big project we had, which is actually being funded by the Fredericktown Educational Foundation, we demolished our old greenhouse, which was kind of a structure was probably 25 to 30 years old, and through their funds and through funds from donations in the community, it's almost finished. But we've got a new greenhouse on campus for our agricultural students. We have a strong FFA program at Fredericktown we're very proud of, and that's going to be a nice new facility for our students. Yeah.
Well, you talk about all the improvements that are being made. You're just continuing on with all the improvements that have been going on. I know it wasn't too long ago that the high school gym got a remake, and then the track has really undergone a face change too.
Yes. Yeah, lots of changes over the last 10 to 15 years, and a lot of that has to do with the reformation of our foundation. And the school puts a lot of money into it too, but it's kind of a partnership and allows us to maybe take it, instead of just getting a vanilla facility, it's allowed us to have a little bit more state of the art. And I know our gym facility, it's one of the largest capacities in the area as far as high school. I think it seats about 1,300 to 1,400 people, and then the new track has been fantastic. We actually had a practice track meet last spring, and I think that we're set to maybe have a middle school track meet this coming spring. But that's just you see every morning you see folks from the community going down and utilizing it, and I just think it's been a definite need for our community for a long time, and I think it really has become something that we can be proud of.
Now, Shannon, is Fredericktown the only school district you've worked for?
It is. 28 years.
28 years.
Yep.
Now, Melanie, for you, coming back to Fredericktown a few years ago, it's kind of like a homecoming, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So I graduated from Fredericktown. Love the community, love everyone there. But it was nice to go. I went to North County and Farmington, made a lot of friends. And still am friends with them today, contact administrators up there and teachers and just enjoy that friendship between schools. That's very nice to have. Yeah.
Now, we mentioned we're past Labor Day now, and usually the sites move to homecoming at that point, and all kinds of big homecoming activities and things getting set for that first big weekend in October.
Yes, definitely. So we've had homecoming parades a long time ago. We had some of those, but we hadn't had any for a while. So we brought that back last year was our first year to have the parade. And we had a lot of participants, I think about 65 entries, and community and school. So that was nice. And then we follow up the parade this year. We'll start on the 29th. It's September 29th. It will start at 3 p.m. And we'll follow the same parade route as last year. We'll have that information on our Facebook and website so anyone can follow there. And so we'll parade right down to Azalea Park and end the nice time with just festivities there. We'll have food trucks, activities set up and for the kids, and it'll be a good time. We're really looking forward to it. Our high schoolers really get involved with some of the table areas set up down there, the activities, and so we'll be face painting and all kinds of good stuff going on. So we're looking forward to that. And it's just a good time to get the community together. We will then go into the week with lots of fun with our kiddos at school and end October 4th with our football game and lots of fun there, chili supper and all kinds of good stuff.
Suppers.
Yes,
Yeah.
good stuff. Yeah.
Will every day have its own theme?
Yeah, usually it does. I don't know if Stuco has released that yet, but it definitely, we have dress up days and we have a lot of fun throughout the week.
And we share that throughout the community. We encourage everybody in the
Yes.
community to participate in those dress up days. I think one unique thing is this idea that we start off the week with the parade.
Yeah.
Instead of having the parade on Friday and trying to get everything in on that Friday. I think the parade as a kickoff. I don't know if there's any other districts that have done anything like that, but Miss Allen and the committee she put together. I thought at first I was kind of skeptical of that idea, and then once I saw it take place last year, I was like, this, and we got a lot of positive feedback on doing it that way. It seemed like more people could participate in the parade because of when we had it, instead of trying to cram it in at 1 o'clock on a Friday afternoon and then trying to hurry those kids back. And I know as a football coach, they probably appreciate that as well because
absolutely.
I can remember as a player and as a coach, you know, your players are a little bit worn after all those festivities on Friday, and I think this is a good way to spread it out and make it a week-long celebration, and they've done a fantastic job putting this together.
It's a lot of fun.
So you all have taken over for Chad Starkey. Melanie, tell us about that transition.
So, I mean, it's obviously tough. I've worked with Chad for a long time at North County and at Fredericktown, so he was a great leader, and a lot of the things he put in place, we're just going to keep those there because they're solid. But Dr. Henson, I've worked with him, of course, as a team assistant team. We were both assistant soups, and so he's done a great job. He's taken off, doing a wonderful job, great leader. He's actually a mentor to me. I've learned a lot from him, and we're glad to have Chad come back. I mean, of course, he's coming back to join us as a part-time, and Dr. Henson can go a little bit more into that, but that's kind of what the transition's been. We're keeping everything going the way that it was, the best we can, and he's got some great ideas of some things we've added in, but it's been smooth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Had a good foundation to build on, and like I said, I was very fortunate. The board this summer, I talked them into let me bring Chad back to help with our finances because he's done a fabulous job with our budget, and he's going to help with our student information systems. And Melanie and I complement each other very well. We all worked at different levels as teachers and as administrators. She was an elementary teacher and an instructional coach, and then an elementary principal, and I was a high school science teacher and football coach and athletic director and high school principal, and Chad worked in the middle school level. So I think all three of us together have a very good perspective over all K through 12.
Plus, he's kind of like a Jose Oquendo. He can drive a bus,
Yep,
he can
exactly.
sweep a floor,
Yes,
and
he can.
he's willing to do it all.
Yeah, he is. He's he's not afraid to pick up a broom, pick up a piece of trash, and he models well for our administration.
Yes. Yep. Good leader.
By the way, do you walk the halls with your daughter now? Has she made it to the high school level
Yeah,
yet?
so used to, she would come up and give me a big hug, when she would see me, and now she kind of hides or, kind of
Too cool for
fist
that
bumps
now.
me.
Yeah.
So that's not very fun, but yeah. But I see her often in the halls, and that's always nice, but yeah, it's changed. She's
Yeah,
gotten a little older.
But being in education, though, how cool is that as a parent to
Yeah.
watch that process? It's so neat, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's fast. It
Yeah.
goes really quick. I can't believe she's in high school. Dr. Henson has a couple in high school and one in the middle school, and man, it just it flies by. I'm very blessed to have her. I mean, I've had her at different districts with me, and that's been a blessing. She's learned a lot. She's made a lot of friends, but I'm really blessed to have her back at Fredericktown, where I graduated, where I went to school, and she's a black cat, and she's going to graduate that way, and it's really exciting to see.
And she's a lean, mean horse riding machine.
She is. Yeah, she's our barrel racer.
And Shannon, you got 2 kids in high school now.
I
in
do.
Middle school. What's that like for you?
It's an interesting perspective. To be honest with you, I mean that's motivation when your entire family's within, I don't know, a half a mile of each other every day. I've got my son Owen's a senior. He's a 4-time MAAA All-Conference band kid. A track and field kid. My son Ian is involved and is actually going to have a performance for our town next weekend with the Mineral Area Fine Arts Council. He's got a speaking role in that play. And then my daughter Maya's at the middle school. She's an art kind of an art kid and in band and good kids. And it's just great to have them. My wife teaches at the high school, so it's a good feeling to know that you've got all of the people you love right there with you every day. And I think that it's motivation to make our learning environment the best that it can be and the safest that it can be. And like Miss Allen's daughter has my wife in class. So it's definitely a family. It's a family community and we're all in it together. And it's good to feel confident that, you've got the opportunity to better the education for our kids, but at the same time benefit your own.
Yeah. By the way, do you have some new faces in place in some of the key positions at Fredericktown?
Yeah, in fact, we do. So middle school, Blake Stevens, who actually came from Farmington, I think originally graduated at Park Hills Central. He took the principal position at our middle school. Also, Joby Sykes, who you're probably familiar with, has a great coach. He's coached for a long time. He actually took the assistant principal position at the high school and also AD. So that's been a good move for our district. And we have also an assistant AD position, Micah Reitzel. That was a newly added position to help support that AD position. And so it's been really nice, I think. It is for administration.
And Jerry Will, longtime teacher from the Farmington School District. Jerry and I graduated high school together. Yeah. And he came down with Blake to be the assistant principal and the activities director at the middle school. And they've all done a fantastic job.
See, Jason, did you notice there's a lot of second generation names that are involved with education there?
Yeah. It's very
Blake's
father, Dave Stevens, was a superintendent at Park Hill Central for a long time.
He was my principal at one time, too. I feel so bad for him. I'm really sorry. I need to apologize to him.
Also, Joby Sykes, his dad was a principal at Fredericktown for years. Yeah, Scott Sykes.
Yeah. Scott was great.
And Micah Reutzel, his dad was.
His dad. Yeah, that's
right. Well, my dad was the athletic director at Farmington High School. So,
absolutely.
It trickles down.
It sure does. Anything else we need to cover Fredericktown-wise before we let you go here today?
Well, I think I need a disclaimer. I'm looking at all this. This is neat, and I've got a Cubs cup. But I need to make sure everybody understands when you marry into a family from Chicago, sometimes there's propaganda laying around the house. And sometimes there's not enough clean coffee cups, so you just kind of grab what you got. And I walked in there and I looked at this and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like in a Cardinals shrine with a Cubs cup. So I just want to make sure in case anybody zoomed in on the video that they understood where I was coming from. So.
Hey, on a more serious note, you did have one topic you wanted to discuss with them.
I wanted to ask you guys, we had this week Potosi, North County, Farmington all issuing statements involving student threats. Kind of talk a little bit about that policy and how tough of a situation you are in as a school district because A, you want to make sure the information is out there and you take everything seriously, but B, we're dealing with kids. They're learning how to communicate. They're learning what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. How do you guys walk that line?
Well, it's tough. One thing that we've done, I think we're in the 4th year of using what's called the behavioral risk assessment team. So we take everything from a kid maybe making a drawing that seems a little bit ominous to a kid, basically making a threat of violence towards the school district, or it may not even be towards the school district, maybe towards an individual student, something taking place out of school. So we have an assessment process for that. It involves interviewing just about everybody that you can that's involved, kind of painting a picture of maybe what's going on in that child's life that would spark that type of rhetoric. And basically putting support plans in for those students. I can't talk specifically about what we do in certain cases in regards to discipline, but I do know that we have a playbook for how we handle threats. And we make sure we stick by that, and we make sure that all of our staff, from our SROs to our social workers, to our counselors, to our administration, to our staff, understand that when they hear something like that, to make sure that they communicate that to our staff. And I think kids are getting better about it now. Yeah. I think for a long time that kids didn't want to be a snitch, et cetera. But there's now that they understand the reality of the world we live in, I think that there's no threat that we're not going to take serious initially, and we'll go through that process, and we have a matrix that we go through to determine the validity of it, and whether it's an indirect threat or whether it's just, a kid, sometimes I remember when even when I was in high school, two guys get ready to square up. One might say to the other, "I'm going to kill you." Doesn't mean they're going to kill them, but it means that I'm going to hurt you. So we've tried to navigate that and have common sense, but at the same time, we're going to take all of them serious.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, so I work really closely with our student services team. So that's social workers, counselors, and nurses also can be a part of that. And so we just try to do a lot of preventative measures, getting in the classroom, doing lessons with them, giving opportunity for kids to come to the counselors and social workers to talk to them, setting up, groups and things like that, so that maybe we can prevent some of those things from happening, or, just by taking those measures. Also, we have a process manual. So making sure that all buildings are handling the same steps. They're going through the same steps with intervention. And I think that's very important to have in place as well.
And I think if you look at the incidents that's taken place, majority of the times those students don't have any adult that they connected with at the school district. And I think that the most important thing that we can do is assess our kids in their relationships and make sure that every one of those kids at least has one adult in that building that they feel they can trust and that they can engage with, and just take the temperature of the attitudes and the feelings and the social emotional learning of all our students. I think that if we take that approach and everybody's on board with that, every staff member you've got, and the relationship might not be with a teacher, it might be with a cook, it might be with a janitor, sure, it may be with an administrator, but just trying to make sure that each of those kids has a contact there at school that they feel like that cares about them, basically.
So we're running out of time on this interview, but can we get you all to come back and maybe bring some of your FFA kids with you? Because when you say Fredericktown FFA has a lot of history, that's putting it mildly. Is it one of the charter groups in the state?
It's one of the, I don't want to speak, and I probably want to apologize to the FFA for not knowing that, but it is one of the largest and oldest charters, and has been around for a long time. Retired teacher Tom Mooney could probably give a master class on the history of FFA.
And sell you some insurance too at the same time.
But his daughter is also a teacher, Laura Biddle and Rusty Algar in Savannah Acres. Mike Graham, who just retired. All of those folks have been a part of a long tradition of a strong agricultural program at our school. I mean, those kids walk out of there with a wealth of knowledge and skills. I've been told that we have some of the best welders in the area. That nothing against Unitech, but the Unitech has told us in the past that they like getting our FFA kids down there because they're so much more advanced than everybody else in terms of that. So they do a lot of really neat, good things.
They've added some classes. We've added some classes through FFA. We have like a barbecue team now.
Yeah.
And
went to the national competition.
National competition.
Do you need judges?
Well, you know what? Maybe
taste testers.
You could have them come in, and I'm sure they probably bring some for you to sample.
That's right.
All right. What are they doing next week?
Thank you guys so much for coming and speaking with us. It's been a great interview. Appreciate you.
You betcha.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Dr. Shannon Henson and Melanie Allen, the superintendent and assistant superintendent here, joining us for our Fredericktown Schools Report on the Parkland Podcast. Time to talk Save-A-Lots of the Parkland, Bonne Terre, DeSoto, Potosi, Park Hills, Farmington. They have great pricing on all of their food. But, Mark, I mean, when it comes to helping out in the community, they are right there every time.
Got to give a shout out. I was at the John Thomas Scholarship fundraiser over the weekend, and one of the guys, Steve, my buddy Steve Thomas. Steve, how you doing? He says, hey, make sure you give an extra plug to Save-A-Lot of Farmington. They worked with us really well because we sold chicken dinners for that, and they gave us a great deal on the chicken, and they were just so easy to work with. In fact, I think whenever we have big fundraisers, we like to go to Save-A-Lot of the Parkland because they're so willing to work with you, and they love being a part of the community.
They sure do, and they do that with every store, and there's people I know at each one of the stores. When I go in there, they're going to take good care of me and make sure that I find everything I need. That's what they always ask when you pull up to the conveyor belt. Don't forget about the 5 for $24.99. Great way to stretch that budget and feed that family. Save-A-Lots of the Parklands in Bonne Terre, DeSoto, Potosi, Park Hills, and Farmington. Discover Farmington is more than you ever imagined. DiscoverFarmingtonMo.gov allows you to find out about all kinds of great entertainment, dining, outdoor activities, wineries, and more. And, of course, Blues, Brews, and Barbecue is upon us, Mark Toti.
It's here. I am so excited. One of my 3 or 4 favorite things. There's certain events that stick out for me over the course of the year that I am involved in. The St. Paul School Auction, Country Days, Help the Hungry Bake Sale. Blues, Brews, and Barbecue is right up there as well. The entertainment is always top-notch. Mojo Rising and the Blue Moon. That's hard to say really fast.
You've done so well with that. I've been so impressed.
Blue Moon Blues Band. That's on Friday the 20th. And on the 21st, it's the Brad Allen Band, the Soulard Blues Band, Casimu Taylor's Doc Dixon, Marquise Knox, and Albert Castiglia. Don't forget about the food trucks and the craft beer vendors. But one of the things I also really like about Blues, Brews, and Barbecue, it's like the Deloge Labor Day picnic and a few other events. It's kind of almost like a homecoming because you will see a lot of friends that you don't see on a regular basis. They'll all be there. You can come and go as you please, enjoy a little music, maybe check out one of the area restaurants or do a little shopping, come back, enjoy more music, spend the day, especially on Saturday.
Check it all out online. DiscoverFarmingtonMo.gov. More than you ever imagined. Discover Farmington, sponsoring the Parkland Podcast. Time for sports on the Parkland Podcast. Week 2 of the high school football season. The Jefferson Blue Jays and the Central Rebels. Competitive first half, and then the Rebels pull away in the second half. 42-24, the final score. Mike Reeves caught up with Kory Schweiss, Rebel head coach, after the ball game.
Well, Kory Schweiss, you got a record of 2-0. You got to win tonight. Let's work this one backwards, though, and then back to the beginning. I know as a coach, you're going to want to finish off games better than you did this one tonight. Just kind of what happened as you got down towards the end of that one.
Well, you know, we're trying to mix in, trying to get some younger kids in, and we just, you know, it's kind of hard to do that when it's almost easier just to put the whole group in at one time because they're used to playing with each other. You try to mix them in with some of the varsity guys and keep some off. And we were getting some guys banged up there toward the end. And then you really wanted to try to get those guys off the field. You know, and it just kind of snowballed on us. We just couldn't really get anything going offensively when we took those guys out. And defensively, we gave up some plays. But, you know, all in all, they got to experience Friday night tonight, and that's what our starters needed to do.
In terms of big play strike capability, which you had tonight, all that focus is going to be on the so-called skill players. But what kind of job are your guys doing up front right now? Are you liking what you're seeing from them?
Well, you know, this year I think our strength is going to be up front. I think we got some good players up there. They're young, but you know our skill guys are young too. But you know, we've got to find more playmakers on offense. So that means we might play more freshmen and sophomores because we've got some freshmen and sophomores that I think are pretty good. And, you know, that means some of our older guys are going to take a back seat. They're going to take a back seat. But, you know, once you get to the varsity football stage, you got to play your best, you know what I mean? So I like them all, love them all. But we've got to execute when there's plays to be executed.
And you get a player like a sophomore, and what Foster did for you tonight. All right, here's the thing. Guys can sometimes be a little bit of a secret, and then they do some of the things you see tonight, and a little bit of a coming out party. What's the expectations for him? I mean, the skill level is obviously there, but it's also a very young, inexperienced football player. What's a realistic expectation for him moving forward?
Well, he's a super special player. We've had some come through here, and he's going to be one. And I even mentioned during the sideline, I was like, maybe we shouldn't be using him so much. Everybody's going to find out who he is tonight. But I think it is what it is. It's going to open it up for other guys, and we're going to have other guys step up. We had opportunities for other guys, and they missed out on those opportunities. And that's why I said, he's only a sophomore. We got some other pretty good freshmen and sophomores. So, we'll just probably try to start working them in, and heck, who knows? We might play a bunch of young kids.
I know you had those drop passes early. We talked about that at the half. Had a couple also in the second half. Are you still pretty confident, though, in what your passing game can be? Are those balls that are going to be caught eventually, or do you worry that can be an issue?
Well, I mean, last week and this week, it looks like it could be an issue. That's why I'm not opposed to trying other guys. I told these guys early in the season, JV games too. I mean, everybody's auditioning right now because, we came into this season and we really didn't have anybody set in stone. We had a couple guys that we thought were going to be set in stone, like Karras, but outside of that, pretty much everybody's auditioning. So, some people are going to make the most of it and some people aren't. And, the starting lineup in week 5 and 6 and 7 is going to be different than the starting lineups in 1 and 2. People are going to get their shots. People fail. People get their shots. People succeed, and that's kind of how it works. And you have teams like you did in the last 4 years, and that's never really an issue because you kind of know what you got coming back. But we've had years like this before. When the starters at the end of the season aren't the same as what you thought you were going to have at the beginning. So. And I'm not counting those guys out at any means. I mean, I think they're still going to have opportunities, and they'll have opportunities in JV games because even the guys that were not catching the balls are juniors, so they can play some JV if they need to try to get better.
Wrap it up with this because we talked about it during the broadcast tonight. At some point, I mean, you guys as coaches and players, you had to move on from being a state champion as soon as you knew this season was going. I get that. At some point, is it also a little bit nice from your perspective if, hey, media, townsfolk, and everybody else stop worrying so much about what we did last year, and now let's just focus. It was fun. It was an amazing experience, but we also have to move on. Is it time for that in terms of everybody just say, hey, new season, we're 2-0, or is it okay to kind of live that amazing moment as long as you can?
Yeah, I think we kind of moved past it. I mean, we enjoyed it obviously, but we kind of moved past it right away as coaches and players. I mean, I told the guys before, this season when everybody plays us, I know what the pep talk's going to be. They're going to be like, well, they're the state champions. So regardless of whether this team won the state championship or not, that's what everybody's going to play you as. So, our kids have to be ready every game because we should get everybody's best shot. The fact that we're 2-0 is nice, but we also know that, we haven't played, MICDS or Poplar Bluff or, some of those schools either. We're realists. We understand what we got. These are good games for this team to build on. But we've got to get better week to week. We were a lot better tonight than we were last week, and that's the goal. If we can continue to improve at the rate we did from 1 week to this week 2, if we continue to improve at that rate, we'll be really good at the end of the year.
Always a pleasure, sir. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
And again, the Central Rebels win 42-24 in our Parkland Sports Live Game of the Week. We'll tell you who's coming up for Week 3 after we run down the rest of the scores from Week 2.
The Farmington Knights bounced back from a Season 1 loss to North County, but they had another close one, defeating St. Clair by a score of 28-22.
Meanwhile, the Raiders welcomed in Glenwood, Illinois, and they fall by 4, 35-31. Raiders now 1-1 on the season.
How about those Black Cats? Fredericktown 13-0 in the Battle of the Cats over Herculaneum.
Potosi Trojans, another impressive victory, 2-0 now, 46-19 over Salem.
And how about this score? St. Vincent 21, Valley Catholic 7. We were trying to figure out when the last time was. St. Vincent beat Valley Catholic? I'm not sure, but it has to have been a while.
I'm thinking early 2000s, right around that era when St. Vincent had a couple of title runs. But, boy, it has not happened often. Meanwhile, the St. Genevieve Dragons bounced back a 33-8 victory over University City.
Hillsboro lost a tough one, 24-17 to St. Louis U High.
Festus Tigers with a victory, 34-14 over Francis Howell North.
Another close game had Perryville over DeSoto by a score of 31-28.
How about the Windsor Owls? A great start to the season for them, 40-6. They pick up the victory over Afton. We have 2 high school football games coming up for you this coming week, Mark Toti. On Thursday night, we'll go to Fredericktown as the Black Cats will welcome in the Central Rebels. Should be a nice ball game there.
Yeah, I love both those programs. Fredericktown, always tenacious, always tenacious. And this is an interesting year for the Central Rebels. I love how they've gotten off to a pretty good start because they lost a lot of people from last year's team, but it looks like maybe they've gotten to the point where they don't have to rebuild. They just have to reload.
Yeah, and then on Friday night, we'll get a look at the North County Raiders again as they will go welcome in the DeSoto Dragons. So that's what's coming up.
Should be another good ball game. I know North County would love to get a win and get back over 500.
Yeah. So there you go. That's what is coming up in the world of sports. Do we want to talk about the Cardinals?
And here's the latest from the St. Louis Cardinals. That's a check of sports on the Parkland Podcast.
Enjoy the NFL, sports
fans.
Baby. Mark Toti and I both bank at First State Community Bank. They have 3 locations. They're in downtown Farmington. They have the location at Carson, Washington. They have the Maple Valley Center. Of course, too, they have the branch at Farmington High School. Again, a lot of sucker customer interactions going on as students go in, get that free sucker from the bank staff.
Well, yeah.
You know, and the ATM at Farmington High School, very helpful for me whenever I all of a sudden need to get cash for something going on teacher-wise. First State Community Bank is there. First State Community Bank is there to help you.
You know, a lot of big businesses, a lot of banks, you may only know one person when you're there. But you go to First State Community Bank, I deal a lot with the downtown Farmington location. It's nice to know that I can see Matt Sebastian there, Craig Sutherland, John Dinkler, Tanya Thomas, Kelly Legan. I could go on and on with the people that I've gotten to know over the year. When they say they are a banking family, they mean it, and they include you as customers as part of their family.
You can experience the service for yourself. Success starts here. First State Community Bank, member FDIC, online at fscb.com. I like John Robinson. He's a pretty good guy. He works at Pettis Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram at the Fairgrounds exit. Been doing it for 33 years, Mark, and he knows how to take care of his customers.
He knows the ins and outs of the business, and I know that firsthand because I've bought a car from John. I was really impressed by how he sat down and talked with me and asked me what I wanted, what I was going to use it for, and he found the exact vehicle that I wanted at the time, and I will never forget that. John, you do great work.
He does. Give him a call, 701-8002. Very involved in the community. And again, there's a reason why he has literally sold thousands of vehicles. That's because he knows what he's doing. John Robinson, Pettis Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
Parkland Pharmacy is out to prove that local independent pharmacy is alive and well. We work hard at giving you an excellent experience every time you come to see us. We love what we do, and we would love to take care of you. There's no need to be frustrated with your health care. If you're tired of what your pharmacy is not doing for you, then stop waiting in line and come see us today. We have 6 locations across Southeast Missouri, so Google us to find the store nearest you or visit parklandrx.com. Parkland Pharmacy is a local pharmacy at its finest.
Time for some music now on the Parkland Podcast, and this is where we pick out a favorite tune or something that's been stuck in our head, and show you a really cool album. Mark, give me your musical song, your song or songs pick of the week.
Well, in honor of Paul and Ashley being here today, my song is from an artist named Joanna Carter, who was actually at Blues, Brews, and Barbecue a couple years ago. She has a song called Walkin' Blues, and it's like 12, the live version is like 12 minutes long. It features an amazing guitar riff from Joanna. If you look it up, Google it, watch it, your jaw will drop when you watch her play the guitar. It is amazing. But when she does it live, she does like a 3 or 4 minute guitar solo. Her piano player, who at the time was 19 years old, did a 2 or 3 minute piano solo. The drummer did a couple of minutes solo, and the bass player did a solo. It is a great song. It's a wonderful song, and it's just an example of the great music you hear during Blues, Brews, and Barbecue.
All right, what about for an album of the week?
I'm torn. I've got Retrospective, the best of Buffalo Springfield, and Blackfoot Strikes. I don't know which one to choose. So I think I'm going to go with the best of Buffalo Springfield just because of the talent pool. Stephen Stills, Neil Young, Richie Fury, all a part of that. Jim Messina, Loggins and Messina,
right, yeah,
became a part of that. So I think just for that reason, Retrospective, the best of Buffalo Springfield with the great tunes, Mr. Soul, and For What It's Worth. That's got to be my album today.
Yeah, that's a good one. You
Tom?
forgot Barry Buffalo, though.
Well, I hope my brother Tom approves. By the way, thanks again, Tom, for the musical intro.
Oh, man, it's so awesome. All right, so Jim Whaley, my father-in-law, gives my song of the week this week, and it's a good one, too. Rose of Cimarron.
Great song.
By Poco.
Yeah, great group.
Rusty Young lives very close. Or did he pass?
No.
Okay, good.
He came actually to the radio station not too long ago.
Yeah.
I have a hat with his autograph.
Yeah,
on it.
yeah. Very, very cool. I think he's like Steelville area, somewhere around there. And of course, Timothy B. Schmidt went on to go to the Eagles, was also on that tune too. And great cut from 1976. Tulsa Turnaround was the B-side if you had the single.
Nice.
And now let's go to the album here, and let's bring in Edgar Winter, the Edgar Winter Group. They only come out at night. See this? And, of course, the song that everybody knows, Frankenstein, the great instrumental. Oh, my gosh. One of the whitest people you'll ever meet right there, Mr. Edgar Winter. Yeah. And a very nice album cover as well.
Now, he also has a brother that was a very talented musician named Jonathan. And he had a couple of really good hit songs. But there's a couple really good songs. And I've had that album in my possession now for over 50 years.
Wow. And it's still in good shape. You take good care of your stuff, man.
Yeah, well, let's not go overboard.
All right. Well, we got all kinds of stuff coming up on the next episode 15 of the Parkland Podcast. You got your interview book there. Who we going to have on the show?
Well, we hope to hear from the mayor of Park Hills, Stacy Easter, during the interview segment, and Brianna Griffin from the St. Francis County Health Department is scheduled to join us, and apparently she's bringing something special for us.
Oh boy, I like that.
Maybe it's a puppy. The podcast puppy, but I doubt it.
Oh, boy. You got Morgan Short's attention right there. Welcome, Morgan, our producer.
She rocks, by the way.
Yeah, doing a great job. You've worked really hard this morning and deserve all the credit. So there you go. That is it for episode 14. Have a great week, everybody.